Hey there, I'm Phil from Y Safeguarding, formerly the National Safeguarding Unit, and I'm here with Laura, and we're going to talk about policy, which is part of the operations section of the new National Safeguarding Guidance. So welcome, Laura.
Thank you, good to be here.
Awesome. And so in terms of policy, what do we mean by, because policy's chucked around quite a lot, so what do we mean by safeguarding policies?
Policy can seem really dry. I quite love it, Phil, which is a bit sad to say, but policy is really the what. So when we think about, I guess, policy and procedure framework, policies are always at the top and they really underpin everything that we do. So it's a high level commitment to the organisation of what we're going to do. And when we think about safeguarding, we've got our Safeguarding Children and Young People policy as well. So it's really about what we as the Y commit to doing for children and young people to keep them safe.
That's really helpful to understand, because I think it can be quite confusing at times. So what would be then would be the difference between a policy and a procedure?
Yeah, so procedure is probably more the how-to. So I'll give you an example. In our Safeguarding Children and Young People policy, we have a no transport commitment that we wouldn't transport children and young people alone. However, we have heard from our member Ys that for some programs and services, they need to do that in order to function some of their programs. So a procedure on how to do that safely would be a great example of how the policy can say one thing, but if you do implement the certain procedures or the right things, I guess, around that, you can still do certain things in safeguarding. So the procedure is really the how-to, step-by-step process of what to do.
Awesome. So really easy to understand, actually, because your policy is your what and your procedure is your how you do that. So that's great. So because I know you did all the work, lots of work around constructing a new safeguarding policy, how did you, I suppose, go about getting feedback and actually getting it to its third iteration, because we're on our third iteration of our safeguarding policy, and what maybe advice would you give to the members if they're doing a policy review of some of their safeguarding policies?
Yeah, I mean, you've really got to talk to people. That's the main thing. So here at the Y Safeguarding, we spoke to children, we spoke to young people, we spoke to Y people across the country as well. We spoke to our partner organisations and also the community. So we really wanted to know what they thought of the current policy that we had and what they wanted to see in the new policy. And out of that, we got some really great feedback. You'll notice there's this version, there's also a teen and youth friendly version and a child friendly version because it needed to be more accessible. We heard from, I think it was like 480 people all up, including children and young people. So there was a lot of stuff to get through, but that process was invaluable. We did that through surveys, but we also ran some focus groups to kind of dive a little bit deeper as well into some of the answers that they were giving us. So it is a bit of a process, but it's absolutely invaluable, and it's always worth doing the time to hear what people think, because they're the ones that it affects. So we need to hear from them directly.
And I suppose for all our Y people, it's essential that they sign up to this safeguarding policy. It's part of what they require as part of their employment, and volunteers as well in terms of volunteering with us. Any advice on how to make sure, the best ways to read it, or is there different ways they can look at it? Or
yeah, so there's that version obviously, which is the hard copy printout, which we know some people still love. They love to kind of flick and see the pages. We do have an interactive version online, so that's publicly accessible, which is a must when it comes to policies. So you can flick through that one. It's got some videos embedded as well, which is really cool. And there's also the PDF version as well, if you prefer to email it out as part of mass newsletters and that kind of thing. So we have tried to do it a few different ways. Obviously things like this with the video is really helpful as well. I know Y Brisbane did a nice short video kind of snapshotting the new policy and the new code of conduct and things like that. So there's absolutely different ways you can do that, but there is a few ways we provided as well.
Awesome. And then any other sort of final tips for member Ys and Y people around safeguarding policies?
I think if it does seem overwhelming, just try and break it down. There is quite a bit of information in the safeguarding policy, and there can be a lot of policies for each member Y as well, but it is good to constantly refresh and just make sure it is always front of mind. So make sure people know where they are, run some team meetings or training on it, just pick a point in it and talk through it as a group, and it will really go a long way.
Lovely. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
See you soon.